Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to Putin's land grab has begun. What you need to know. Firstly, sorry if you hear this car siren alarm in the background. It's been going off for an hour. I've been waiting for it to stop, and my only hope now is this mic just won't pick it up because it's so much better and it doesn't pick up sounds from the background and stuff. But yeah, I've been waiting for a long time for it to stop and it hasn't, so I just thought, you know what, let's just go with the flow and just do the reactions. And for everyone, this might not be everyone's favorite person to react to. I like his videos. Some of them I miss, some of them hit. So I mean, yeah, but the topic's interesting because I've not really been keeping up to date with what's been going on with all the stuff with Ukraine and Russia. So I guess he'll just give me a bit of an update. But yeah, hopefully going to enjoy. Links are in the description to my Patreon if you want to see some more reactions of mine that I don't post to YouTube, or you want to suggest me some videos that you want me to watch that I can't watch on YouTube. And yeah, let's just jump into this and see all about this situation.
This is Putin's war 7 months on. I've been looking at this map every day, tracking this war that has led to 7 million people fleeing this country, thousands dead, including countless civilians. I want to show you what's going on, kind of in the macro, a time lapse of this war. I want to show you what's going on. Dead, including 1 million people fleeing this country, thousands dead, including countless civilians. I want to show you what's going on, kind of in the macro, a time lapse of this war.
When did it start again?
And I also want to look at my predictions back at the beginning of the war.
Russian invasion of Ukraine.
What I thought this map might look like, and I want to compare it to how it's actually played out. I've been watching the video I made from right before the invasion, remembering a world where this hadn't happened yet. I'm not sure that he's going to invade tomorrow, but he very well could. So let me quickly get you up to speed on what 7 months of war. It
sort of felt like one of those, not fantasy things, but like it was just Putin trying to scare people. Then he actually done it, and then it was like, fuck. Well, I guess it's happening now. I guess this shit's actually happening
for Ukraine. To show you what the new strategy is for Russia and who's actually winning this conflict.
Russian troops are moving in on the
taken by the Ukrainian forces fighting back.
Hey, pause really quick. I need to thank today's sponsor, and I'm quite excited actually because
getting his money. Who is the sponsor? Damn, it's a long. This isn't Vote Future Org. Well, he's getting his money. You always like to see that.
The war in Ukraine. Okay, quick reminder that this invasion that happened in February was really just an escalation of a war that's been going on over here in the eastern part of Ukraine for 8 years.
The Russian military now being directly involved in fighting Ukrainian government forces.
Russian troops spreading out throughout the strategic Crimean Peninsula.
It was back in 2014 that Putin invaded and occupied and then annexed, which basically just means stole, this peninsula called Crimea. That sparked a war that has been going on in this region, the Donbass region, for 8 years, where Ukrainians who sympathize with Russia rose up trying to fight to become a part of Russia.
Вы хотите декоммунизации? Ну что же, нас это вполне устраивает.
And then, as we all know, earlier this year, I mean, you know what happened. Putin moved in from all sides.
So is it kind of like, obviously Russian troops have now gone there, but then a lot of the, I say a lot, I don't know how many, a few of the people who lived there, let's say 30,000 people who lived in this region also sort of, I say they turned, they were always for Russia, but like they sort of, as soon as they saw this stuff happening, or maybe they had contact with the Russian president or whatever, they sort of started working with the army, etc. I wonder how many people actually are, like the percentage. I know it's quite high because I've seen it before. I've seen this mentioned before, but I don't know how high it really is.
The West, of course. His big goal was to swiftly take the capital of Kyiv. You gotta take the capital if you want to win a war quickly. The scariest images at the beginning of the war, if you remember, were these 60-kilometer-long convoys of Russian military vehicles in these huge lines moving towards the capital. 60 kilometers long. I mean, these images were so striking. I frankly thought Putin was going to be victorious in this. I thought he was going to take the capital. But this plan very much did not work.
We are seeing the Russians slowly getting closer to Kiev.
Ukrainian forces are continuing to hold their capital from the Russians.
This was Putin's first big miscalculation. He way overestimated his troops' ability and way underestimated the response of Ukrainians and the West, who pumped loads of weapons into the country to help them fight. Not only did the Russian army fail to take Kyiv, the Ukrainian army mounted a very effective counteroffensive and pushed Russia out of all of this territory in the course of just a few weeks. After this giant defeat, Putin calls all of his troops back to regroup and to focus on a more narrow front of the war. Sticking to over here, the plan was now to continue to liberate the eastern regions of the country that already had a lot of pro-Russian separatists who, again, had been fighting here for 8 years. And as the summer approached, I think this is where a lot of us, started to tune out, because the war turned into a long, protracted stalemate, with some occasional Russian gains and a few counteroffensive from the Ukrainians. The term we need to use here is war of attrition. Basically, who can wear down the other first through destruction and endurance. This is a horrible way to fight a war. And while Putin's attempt to take over Kyiv failed, he didn't fail in taking over other major population centers. Like here in Kherson, which was the first major city to fall to Russia after the invasion.
The battle for Kherson in particular is intensifying.
When it falls, or the city falls, do the people, they're still living there, right? Is it, this is going to sound so stupid, do the troops allow the people to stay there, but then they living by the Russian rules? Or how will it actually work? I guess it's a lot different to how it would have been 100 years ago, because it would have been probably a mass slaughter and stuff. I don't think that would happen in the current day. I'd hope not. But how does that go? Do the people flee before they get there, or is it just the people that are still there are now under the Russian rules and all that kind of stuff? I mean, they obviously are, but how would that work?
Watching how they treat their first conquered city is a really good indicator of what Russia's real goal is here. They didn't just occupy the city, they got busy turning it into Russia. They took down the Ukrainian flag and replaced it with a Russian one. They put up these creepy billboards with young children about Russia being one.
That's crazy. Instantly like that, they're just trying to get rid of the history of Ukraine. That is insane to me.
People, and Russia is, quote, here forever, super on the nose on what they're trying to do. The brave people of Kherson gathered and protested, right next to Russian tanks. But that didn't stop the Russians from doing what they clearly had been planning this whole time. On May 1st, Russia announced that these people would start using the Russian ruble, the Russian currency. They seized control of the...
This is insane, bro. I've not seen any of this. This shows how much I've really looked into this whole conflict for the last few months. They've just changed everything. This has answered all my questions that I was literally asking.
Broadcasting and internet channels and stopped these people from being able to connect with the world. These events are a big deal because Putin said he was invading to liberate these people. A special military operation, not to conquer them. Putin was unable to oust the government and initiate a regime change to put in a government that would have been more friendly to Russia. So now, it looks like he's going to try to gobble up the country from the east, piece by piece. And the key word here is annex.
Russia has launched an intense ground campaign to capture a key Ukrainian city in the eastern Donbas region.
Annex is a super benign, technical word, but it means to conquer land, to then occupy it, and then to just unilaterally declare that this land is a part of our sovereign territory. No treaties, no nothing. Just a unilateral land grab. So let's rewind to the beginning of the war. Watch how at the beginning it was all about this invasion from all three sides, a very aggressive invasion, again with the focus on the capital. But once Russia got kicked out of Kyiv, the war really starts to become focused on all of this. But Russia made progress. They took over all of these population centers here in the Donbas region. And by the end of April, it was starting to become clear what the next move was. It came out in Russian media in this report that a senior Russian military official said that the next phase of the operation was, quote, to establish full control over the Donbas and southern Ukraine regions. And then he says it point blank. He says that this will allow Russia to establish a land bridge from mainland Russia all the way to Crimea, this peninsula that Russia annexed in 2014. But why stop there? This Russian military commander then infers that the next part of the plan is to create that land bridge even further all the way to Transnistria, this little sliver of a pretend country that basically no one recognizes and that should be a part of Moldova, but that is full of Russian soldiers and a bunch of people who want Russia to annex them. Establishing this part of the land bridge would be pretty difficult because it would mean a battle in Odessa, which is Ukraine's third largest city. It'd be a horrible fight, so let's just hope that part of the plan does not come to fruition. But Russia has been successful in deeply establishing this land bridge between their country and Crimea. But to do that, They had to fight a very bloody battle in the port city of Mariupol.
We begin tonight with the battle for Mariupol.
The mayor of Mariupol is calling on residents to evacuate.
After an egregious few weeks, Russia finally took over the city.
Thousands of civilians remain in Mariupol.
So yeah, that's the phase of the war that we are in right now. More and more evidence is mounting that Russia isn't just planning to occupy and liberate these people, but to actually annex them to be a part of Russia. US intelligence reports claim that Russia is installing Russian officials to lead these cities and regions. They're creating these fast tracks for Russian citizenship and making it so that all new babies born in these regions are automatically Russian citizens. Any day.
Flipping it, that's so weird. Like, oh, I mean, it's obviously the whole plan for them, but it's so weird seeing it actually happen. Like, within months, they've just changed people's citizenships and stuff. Obviously, I guess it's not going to be recognized by the world, but by Russia, it is. And the people there, how are they, like, over the next few years? Obviously, they're not like the regular person, they're not going to be able to do anything. But how will it work? Say Russia does take over Ukraine. Like, what's going to happen for the next years? It's just going to be constant war because the people aren't going to accept it. It's going to be constant war still.
Now they're going to hold fake elections to gauge if the people want to be Russian. And when you look at the results, you're going to see that somehow a ridiculously giant number of people voted yes. This is their annexation playbook. They've done it before, and it's worked. And it looks like they're doing it again.
Annexation by force would be a gross violation of the UN Charter, and we will not allow it to go unchallenged or unpunished.
But the Ukrainians are fighting back. They have not surrendered to this army that is way more powerful than they are. As we're making this video, there is a giant counteroffensive happening up here. And the Ukrainian army is taking back huge swaths of land. The New York Times pointed out that Ukraine captured more territory in a week than Russia had captured in 5 months. And if you watch the videos of the Ukrainian soldiers liberating these cities, it's pretty emotional. And if we're looking at the map thinking strategically, it's an important reminder of what the spokesperson of the US National Security Council said.
And we would remind Mr. Putin that over time may prove unable to hold this territory.
And this gets to the last point I want to make here. I'm here to argue that he's already lost. Back at the beginning of this war, I made this prediction thinking that Putin was going to be successful in taking the capital and overthrowing the government. All logic pointed that he was capable of doing that. But he clearly did not. I was wrong. Instead, Putin has been able to control a few strips of land in the east and the south. He's got his land bridge to Crimea, and he may keep going. But again, Putin's war, the motive and the goal is based on some pretty giant delusions, chief among them, that he is liberating these people who are ready to come back to the Russian flock. That is not what is happening. And we have 7 months worth of war to prove it.
Damn. Well, that's the update of what we're seeing then. Flipping hell. It's crazy what's happening out there, man, honestly. Like, they're taking out people's internet connections because obviously the Russian internet and the way of, like, what they can use and stuff is so different to, like, the rest of Europe. It's like they're in their own world, their own bubble. And people within a few months have gone from that to this. And that's one of the I guess it's a big problem, but there's many bigger problems from what's happening. Changing, like, everything, the way of life for these people. And it's within a few months. It's crazy. But it obviously shows what they were trying to do the whole time. But then he hides it to everyone and pretends it's something different. He's just an absolute madman. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. And yeah, until next time, like, subscribe, and peace.